Hey guys, so I was actually sitting there thinking about how can I do some sort of Brittany really isn't free type reading on YouTube to sort of at least bring more awareness to what's really going on, because it was Team Free Brittany that even got her awareness to what was going on with her in the first place. So it's like, at least maybe they can help bring awareness to what is still going on and force everybody to, do something to just finally let this poor girl go free finally for good. And so I was looking through, because I have a bunch of screenshots that I took of different things, either blog comments pointing out certain stuff that I was like, okay, I want to look into that later, if it involved somebody like Lou or Jamie Montgomery, whatever her name is. I can't think of her name right now. Jody Montgomery. I'm like, there's so many freaking Jamies and Jamie Lynn's and Jodys and Lou's that they all have southern names that I'm like, what the fuck? You can't keep up with them. But as I was going through these screenshots that I had saved, one of them was a screenshot of a post that Britney Spears had made of a magazine cover of Brittany Murphy's death. And if you guys recall, or if you didn't know, Brittany Murphy passed in the house that Britney Spears had previously owned, and a lot of people around Britney Spears said that she moved out of that home because she felt like some healer that she had brought in accidentally opened up a portal, and that all these weird, creepy things kept happening in that house to the point that she never stayed there and kept staying at different hotels instead of her actual house. And she ended up, supposedly, the story that was told was that her and her makeup artist went to the house so that she could get some of her stuff, and she ended up, something she saw upstairs freaked her the hell out, and she ran down the stairs and grabbed the makeup artist, and they left, and she never went back in there, and the house was sold with every last thing that she left in there is still in the house, and it was sold to Brittany Murphy. So a lot of people, were sort of wondering how it, if there was a connection or whatnot. And so I've, always wanted to channel Brittany Murphy anyways. It's just obviously I go off of when Spirit says, like, hey, this person wants to communicate with you, because it's different than if I do a one-on-one mediumship reading for you guys, because obviously if you have a connection to the person that you're asking me to channel, they're much more likely to come through and communicate with you versus, a celebrity who doesn't know me from a hole in the wall or any of us. So that's why, I wait, because then instead of trying to pull on their energy and getting denied and them never wanting to communicate, then we get where they do come in repeatedly, and they will share more and more at each time that they do. So I did watch the trailer for the HBO documentary about what happened to her, but she asked me to wait to watch the documentary until after she has told her side of the story through me, because she said, obviously, even though there's a lot of questions raised and things pointed out, you know, it's still not her side of the story. So some things on there may be inaccurate, or they don't cover like what really, like, you know, happened to her, as far as not just in her passing, but she's saying her whole life, really. So first thing that she is saying that she wants us to remember, and she doesn't want to get too far into the details of any of it, because she's saying that it's honestly, the first thing that she was telling me is that it's taken a long time for anybody to ever really truly be able to accurately channel her since she passed, because she had a lot of trauma from this lifetime that she had to cleanse herself of on the other side. And she's referencing again to not just in my passing, but from my entire lifetime. And so because of that, she's saying, you know, the same way that us humans on Earth can get re-triggered, and it's best for us not to go too specific into details of certain things. It's the same for her on that spiritual level. And so she's saying, you know, remember that she was, you know, pushed into the industry as a child. And so the same, she keeps referencing that not only are there so many parallels with her life, but there also is with Ariana Grande. And I will tell you guys, if you look at older pictures, you know, of Ariana when she was a little girl and she had her dark curly hair, and then you look at Brittany Murphy when she was a little girl and she had her darker curly hair, they look very alike. I just like had recently seen a picture of Ariana as a little girl, and I remember thinking like, oh my God, she looks so different now as an adult. And then, you know, in that HBO Max trailer, they showed pictures of Brittany Murphy as a little girl, and I was just thinking, wow, what a resemblance. So I'll try to go find separate pictures later to post, because she wants you guys to see, because she is acknowledging that. And she's bringing attention to Ariana because she's saying, you know, her experience was the same as well. That you're, you know, because when it came to Brittany Murphy, Britney Spears, Ariana Grande, it's like, you're a cute kid, but we're going to pressure you constantly, especially as you grow and go through puberty and those types of things and start developing and your looks change. And, you know, everybody goes through that period where as you know, you kind of go through like that awkward stage where maybe your chin or your nose or your ears seems super out of proportion to your face all of a sudden. But then you grow into it a year or two later, you know, as you fill out more or whatever. And so she's saying those are such detrimental times to girls in the industry's self-esteem. And that's when they start feeling the pressure of, I have to go to the plastic surgeon. I need to start dieting. I got to dye my hair. I got to straighten it. You know, I have to do this. I have to do that so that you can fit into this industry mold. And she's chuckling because she's like, Brittany just grew up being absolutely stunning, and I don't think she ever went through the ugly phase. And she's like, she's the one that she didn't have to do all that stuff. They sort of forced her to undergo certain plastic procedures under the conservatorship. But, you know, she didn't, she's saying she may have had her boobs done, you know, but that was the extent of it for Britney Spears, whereas her and Ariana had facial surgeries and took it to the extremes with dieting and, you know, trying to really change their look to fit into whatever, you know, was the sort of trends that the industry was pushing as far as like aesthetics at that moment. Because she's saying, if you know, she went through the Gwyneth Paltrow era. where it was be stick skinny, and she's saying, of course, you know, I'm not built that way naturally, and that took a huge toll on things for her. But she's saying, you know, she came from an extremely abusive, controlling mother who separated from her dad and tried to keep her from her dad as much as possible, and pushed her into the industry so that she was the one that was supporting the family. And she's saying, again, you know, as far as the horrors of the industry she underwent, and then, you know, all the same stuff as all the other Disney kids that we've talked about and all that. And what she's saying is where things got really dark and really truly started to change for her was not when she met her husband like everybody thinks. Not when her and Ashton broke up, because everybody kind of thought, she's saying, you know, it's almost like people think that was my Justin Timberlake and my husband was my K-Fed, you know, in that parallel sense. And she's like, but just like Brittany, it wasn't the breakup, it was things that happened before that, and the breakups exacerbated it. The disgusting user husband, you know, pushed things over the edge. But it was other things that, you know, all were going on before that that led up to everything. And what she's talking about is a really dark turning point. She's saying not only for her, but for every actress that was involved, was that movie Girl Interrupted. Because she's saying not only does it take, because, you know, they took all these young girls who were going through all of these, you know, pressures to fit into Hollywood, and for some of them trying to create a name for themselves and all of that. But on top of it, you're making them kind of live inside of the head of somebody who's mentally ill and portray that in a believable way on set to make the movie. And she's saying, you know, we weren't playing these run-of-the-mill, I just got depression because me and my, you know, mom fight all the time kind of a, you know, mental illnesses. We were talking about people who were portraying people that had, you know, unalive themselves tendencies and really, you know, schizophrenia and really dark, hard to deal with, you know, mental health issues. And she's saying that the director brought mediums on the set to channel people, famous people who had suffered through those types of things, or that had, she's saying, past and very unfortunate circumstances, and would have troubled spirits and souls on the other side, like Sharon Tate, Sylvia Plath, other people who, you know, really had some dark demises and struggled a lot because it was supposed to be like, oh, we're going to learn from these spirits. And she's saying it was, you know, almost, because we've talked about before, and if you watch Sloan Bella, she's also talked about it, that Heath Ledger was allowing a spirit to, you know, possess him to play the Joker, you know, so dark and sardonically as he did. And that spirit decided, you know, to consume him to the point that he couldn't come back from it and lost his life over it. And so she's saying, you know, in a sense, it was almost like the same rituals and practices and things that he was doing to put himself in that energy to allow that spirit happened. And she's saying now we would have like recognized that like they did a ritual and tried to like bring these spirits to possess us to play these characters. But we didn't recognize what that was at the time because we were all young. And it was just, to set the mood and for you guys to really learn of like what place somebody was in so you can really understand and take this role on and this and that. And she's saying, look at Angelina Jolie, of course, blew up off of that. But for the rest of them, she's saying, look at Winona Ryder because, and I looked up the dates. That movie came out in 99, but it was filmed in 97 and 98. In 2001, Winona Ryder had her shoplifting arrest. Brittany Murphy is saying that's when the beginnings of her disordered eating stuff started happening and her own depression started to really kick in hardcore. And she's saying they all ended up having a really hard time mentally after filming that movie. She's saying we probably would have anyways, just from, all of the dark matter that we had to sit in to even act out and depict and make it realistic. But on top of that, she's saying those spirits, attached themselves to them and started sucking their energy and making them super depressed and sick and all of that. Because she's saying everybody had something bad happen to them after that movie was over. And Angelina Jolie is the only one that like really truly thrived from it. Because she got all kinds of awards. And then she started getting casted in more and more movies. And her career went up. And she didn't get depressed and disordered eating issues or have problems with the law or any of that kind of stuff. She's saying she just went and married Billy Bob and started climbing her way up the ladder. After making out with her brother while she accepted the award. Because, Brittany is confirming again, she's definitely a witch herself. And so she's like, of course, when you're already that type of a person and that's the energy that you already possess and like to live in, and you're a witch yourself in a bad way, then of course, them summoning all of these darker spirits, you're going to feed off of it and thrive from it. And it's going to steal all the good energy from all the rest of us. And so she's saying that was really what was the huge turning point for her. And she's talking about that she went to somebody after her and Ashton broke up. That was supposed to have like cleansed her of any negative energies that were on her. And she's like laughing, like, I don't know why, it's almost like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you an exorcism and a spiritual bath and an energy cleansing. And she's saying, go back to dating Ashton because that spiritual energy was still attached to her. She said that relationship is like a fog to her. She doesn't really remember it very much at all. She says sometimes that she feels like maybe he was slipping things in her drink too at the time. And she's saying he's nobody that anybody should trust. And a lot of times, whatever people are standing up and speaking out against, it's a cover because they're really deeply involved in it. So she's saying all of his advocacy, when he is a huge participant in all of that himself, is completely hypocritical. But she's saying he definitely put spiritual blinders on her and then saw a better opportunity and tossed her to the side and ran for it. Meaning, that he wanted to go date Demi Moore because she had a bigger name, and then everybody would not only talk about it because it's like, wow, you're dating Demi Moore, but also because of the age difference stuff, because she said, he is a real social climber of the worst degree. So what she's saying is that she went to go get herself cleansed because she just felt like, you know, he did something to me and I need to be free from it so I can move on. And she's saying this person removed what he did to her and what, you know, had attached itself to her over the years and all of that, but they put something worse on her. And what she's saying is this is the same so-called healer that went and opened up that portal in Brittany's house. And she's, you know, meaning the other Brittany Spears. And what she's saying is that at that period, because both of them were ready to start rebelling against Hollywood and possibly walk away from the industry completely, they were both under spiritual attack to not only force them to continue to working, but she's saying the ultimate plan between her husband and her mother and the industry was to also put her under a conservatorship, but still make her work. And she's saying they would have yachted her out too, the same way. She's saying everything that's going on with Britney Spears would have been done to me as well. What she's saying is, after this, she keeps calling it more of a binding of her soul, and then putting another spiritual energy in her body to operate as if it's her. And go out and do what the spirit was programmed to do. And that's where Simon came into play, because she's saying her mom was always in on all of this. It was between her mom and industry executives that this is what was going to be done to control her. And Simon was supposed to be one of these Corey Gamble, you know, type handler people. Same way as she's saying Sam Asghari, and she's like, why couldn't they have gave me a cute guy like Sam Asghari at least? She's like, they gave me the nastiest dude in the world. And she's like, trust me, I didn't get a choice in this because my spirit was bound up on the, you know, in the other. So if I had been in my body consciously making these choices, do you think I ever would have dated that man or even looked at him to date him? No, it's because her mom thought he had money of his own, and her mom was the one that was originally sleeping with this man and continued to throughout their marriage and after Britney's passing. And so what she is saying is that it was always, you know, we're going to basically get you two married, have her do a bunch of crazy stuff, you know, so we can justify, oh, she needs a conservatorship, and then, you know, work her until she can't work anymore, and then get rid of her and keep all the money for ourselves and split it. But she's saying one or the other of them would have taken each other out to try to get everything to themselves. So it wouldn't have really, you know, one person would have gotten what they wanted. The other one definitely would have been cut out of the, you know, ultimate deal if they had, you know, their way. So what she's saying is that what she's saying is that sorry, I'm trying to see what, if she was still alive right now or not. So anyways, what she's saying is that it was the two of them, you know, plotting together, but she's like, it was always, when it comes down to it, you know, Simon never would have been around. All this stuff never would happen to me if it hadn't have been for my mother in the first place. She has a lot of anger towards her mom. She's trying to calm herself down. Like when I keep taking pauses, it's because she doesn't want her anger energy to be so strong that I feel it so strong and start coughing or choking or have to go or something. So what she's saying is that, you know, she was obviously, it was no coincidence that she was basically forced into buying Britney Spears' house, because yes, there was a portal that was opened in there, and so it would make it easier, they felt, to not only do whatever rituals that they needed to do, meaning her mom, her husband, whoever else, you know, they wanted to bring in to do stuff with them, but also to send spirits in and out of the portal to control her, because the one that they had installed in her, you know, to control her to that point wasn't the best at acting, and so they wanted to have different spirits that they could put in her body, you know, when she did all this work that they planned that they were going to do to her. And what she's saying is that she was already so weakened from all of the spiritual attacks and industry abuse and, you know, disordered eating and other things that she had gone through over her lifetime, and that's where the anemia really started to kick in on her. And she's saying her soul kept trying to break through, so they kept putting things in her drinks to try to subdue her or make her out of it, in order to, you know, try to basically force a different spirit into her, bind her soul tighter, so that she wouldn't keep, you know, fighting against what was going on, to completely suppress her soul and basically make her this, you know, kind of like skinwalker is what she's calling it, or a zombie. And she's saying, you know, her body just couldn't take it anymore, but she looks at it as, God saved me, because what they had planned for me would have killed me in a far worse way. And she's saying there's no way that she would have been able to survive all of the things that have happened to Britney Spears. And, you know, that same portal that they opened up and all the spirits that they brought in were the ones that, you know, they were going to use to spiritually attack Britney. It's just Britney got away from there. And she's saying she used to beg her husband every time they left the house to go stay at a hotel or somewhere else. And he refused and always made them go back home and tried to keep her trapped in the house all the time. And it's because, you know, he needed her there where they could spiritually control her and basically medicate her, because I got to be careful about how I say things. she's saying the pneumonia and the mold was just one of those things where the industry comes in, sprays some shit on the wall, and claims that that's what you had on your, certificates and postmortems and whatnot, and to have an easy out. But what she's saying is that her mom, started doing the same thing to Simon, because obviously she's saying one of them would have taken each other out, and she was so convinced that he was going to do it to her next that she did it to him before he could. She's saying his soul is in the pits of hell, and she has never confronted his spirit. She doesn't want to. She thinks he's exactly where he needs to be. She's saying she will confront her mother. And she's going to watch while her mom is dragged to the pits of hell herself. Because she said that she feels like that's what her soul needs to completely release itself from all of the trauma and all of the horrendous things that she went through on the side. And she's saying Lou Taylor and the same people who, are really truly behind Brittany's conservatorship and all of that were the ones that were working with her mom as well. So she keeps talking about the guy who manages Brittany's money still being her mother's handler. So she's saying that she's trying not to get angry, because she's saying Britney Spears is such a sweet, innocent, loving soul, like on a soul level, that she's just like, what she is going through and what they are doing to her is so incredibly wrong. And she's just saying that, there's so many spirits on the other side that have been through that she's saying it's almost like we feel spiritually weak, like we can't stop it. And it, see, this is why, because I always cry in the medium readings. Because she's crying because she's saying that she hates that she feels like she's not as spiritually powerful as she should be, because they fucked with her soul so much that she has still so much to heal from, understand, and regain that strength back again. And like she's saying, she feels like she won't have that until certain people pass and she can confront them and make sure that they are escorted to the pits of hell and never able to do these types of things to anybody else again. That she's saying that she beats herself up for feeling weak, that she can't somehow on the spiritual level go in and save Britney Spears, because she's saying like it's so bad, and Britney, nobody deserves to go through that, but she's like, Britney Spears is really like, she's, when people talk about like somebody on a soul level being an angel on earth, she's like, she truly is. And that's why she's so hardcore under attack. It's not just she was this really talented, cute little girl, that the industry saw that they could take advantage of. She said Britney is, the same way with Kanye. There is a spiritual specialness about them that makes them an even bigger target for the industry, because they're always trying to steal God's gifts. And what is God's biggest gift? Giving people any kind of spiritual abilities, because that means that God trusted you to do something good with it. And the devil is so jealous of anything that God created or that God has that he always wants to try to, corrupt it and use it for his own evil gain. And she's saying, it's the same way with Kanye. They when it truly comes down to it, they're never going to truly corrupt their souls. So they're going to punish them as much as they can until they get rid of them because they're so mad that they can't. So, okay, this is weird because Aaliyah popped in and she said, Brittany needs Caribbean people who are extremely well versed in the ways of their ancient people to free her soul and break the power and the spiritual entities and the spells and all this deep hardcore work that they've done to keep her held hostage like this spiritually and continuing to abuse her in the physical. So it's definitely really creepy. She also said that the ultimate plan was to lose the 3 Britneys in the same year. It was supposed to be that her, Britney Spears, and she's saying another Britney that never ended up blowing up the way that they thought she would, were all supposed to be sacrificed off in the same year because it was supposed to line up with, the power of the 3 on top of 3 people with the same names. And I guess something about their birthdays also lining up, but she's saying that was supposed to have happened actually in 2010. But she passed first. The other girl never got that famous, so they left her alone. And they were able to keep pushing Britney Spears to keep working in those residencies. So anyways, guys, she said that's enough for her because she's drained, and honestly, I am too from this. So I am going to go cleanse my energy, and I hope you guys all have a good one. Bye.